So this day was the first time I made a lidded jar. I don't really have any experience with that. I've only seen people in the course I took make them, so I really had no idea what I was doing. But I really wanted to try because pottery is all about exploring. I was actually having some difficulties these days. Centering was not going well, and most of the pieces I tried to make were a bit wobbly. It just wasn't a good pottery evening for me, but I went with it anyway. So here I am pulling up the walls for the first time. Pulling the walls is something I'm still struggling with as a beginner, so I'm trying to go as slowly as possible. If I go too fast, everything goes off center, and that's not what I want. So I keep pulling the walls up very, very slowly. And now I'm starting to close up the top. This actually took quite some time, even though it's not really visible in the video. I noticed some mistakes, like I kept closing the walls and then pulling them up again, which basically undoes the closing. And because of that, the height of the pot kept getting shorter and shorter. You'll see at the end what kind of pot I ended up with. And here in the end part, I'm closing the top with my fingers. Unfortunately, you can't really see what I'm doing because my hands blocking the view, but I'm just gently guiding the clay together. Then I go in with a sponge to remove some of the slip on the surface. It looks a bit smoother here, but it is really small. I think I used around 500 grams of clay. Maybe next time I should use 700 or 800 grams, I'm not really sure. So please, if you have some experience, do let me know in the comments how much clay do you use. Here I'm putting a bit of water on the wheel and using the wire several times to detach it from the bottom. I find that water makes it easier to slide it off. Then I carefully lift it and place it on the newspaper. And voila! Here's how it looked when I finished throwing it. A few days later, it was ready to be trimmed. Here I'm using a needle tool to mark where I need to cut. I go around a few times until the needle goes through and then the lid comes off. I test the lid and then I start trimming the inside edge of the pot, layer by layer, very slowly and carefully. To be honest, I think trimming is actually my favorite part. First of all, it's less messy, and second, it's when the pot really starts to take shape. At this stage of my pottery journey, it's too early for me to think about designing shapes or the foot of the pieces in advance. I'm just learning how to make some shapes, and I just do what feels right in the moment. Here I made a big rookie mistake. I was polishing the top of the lid while it was sitting in place, and it got stuck to the pot. So I tried to separate it with my tool, but it wasn't going well. I used the needle tool to try to create a gap and lift it. And well, I broke the lid, a chunk came off. So yes, completely broken, but I still try to keep going for learning purposes. Then I turn the lid around and trying to smooth it from the inside, but I removed too much clay and it became very thin where a little handle would go. Now I'm smoothing the inside of the pot and trimming the bottom. I tried a new tool that came with my wheel, but it didn't really do much for me, so I switched back to the ones I know and that I learned to use in the pottery course. I start removing the excess clay on the edge, layer by layer. I like making that sharp foot edge. I think it's absolutely beautiful. But in the end, I kept trimming to make it lighter and it ended up being more of a round shape at the bottom. Then I switched over to the lid again. I knew it wasn't going to be functional because of the big missing chunk, but I still tried to smooth it out just for practice. And I could feel the gap every time it turned. Eventually, the lid actually broke when it was drying, but again, a learning experience. I finished with a sponge to smooth everything out. And this is the finished piece. Very tiny, probably best suited for holding a pair of earrings, but hey, it's something. And I learned a lot. Thank you for watching.